Welcome to Civil Central.
Recently, there's been a lot of discussion going on with this red versus blue button dilemma. I'm sure you've heard about it by now, but to cover the original post, it goes like this. Everyone in the world has to take a private vote by pressing a red or blue button. If more than 50% of people press the blue button, everyone survives. If less than 50% of people press the blue button, only people who press the red button survive. Which button would you press? When I first saw this, I came to the conclusion that by pressing the red button, I could survive no matter what, which meant it would be stupid to press the blue button. You might as well change this question to gamble your life away or don't gamble at all. But the more I looked into this topic, the more I thought maybe the blue button does make sense actually. So I'm going to break down as to if you should press the blue button or the red button, and what would probably happen in a real life scenario.
Which do you press? So I'll choose the red one. Are you sure? Oh yeah, I have a 100% chance of surviving going red. Yes, but are you willing to have the blood of billions on your hands? But everyone can choose red. Okay, but why not band together with society and just choose blue? Everyone can band together and choose red.
This hypothetical caused me to get in some very heated debates with those that chose red, mainly because I characterized the reds as selfish, and the reds were incapable of understanding why anyone would choose blue, given the rules.
Listen, I get sure there's this magical woohoo, we're all in this together, wishful thinking, but what, I'm supposed to risk my life to win some imaginary high ground that doesn't even need to exist? That logic doesn't make any sense. We're creating a conflict when there doesn't need to be one. Everyone can choose red to survive.
But here goes my question, and maybe I'm dumb here. Why in God's name would anyone press any other button besides the red button? If you press the red button, you live. Do you understand that?
I think, and this is going to shock a lot of people, I'd press the blue button. I would. And do you know why? It's because we used to live in a society. We did.
We could have a whole 10-hour argument about like psychology, philosophy, human nature, statistics, but at the end of the day, the only reason people are dying is because they're pressing blue.
People who press the red button argue that if everyone presses the red button, then no one dies anyway. But the blue button pressers say that it's a lot easier to get 51% of the world to press the blue button than 100% of the red button. The blue button people also seem to kinda hate the red button people because they think that by not pressing the blue button, you're selfish and immoral. However, the red button people just seem to see it as common sense, and that anyone who doesn't understand that you're picking between a 100% survival chance versus a 50% survival chance are killing themselves rather than the red button people killing them. Really, both arguments have a good point, which is why this is a discussion in the first place. The way that you word this question or the context of the situation greatly changes the results as well. If you change the wording to the blue button will kill you unless the majority of people press blue, but the red button will do nothing, I think most people are going to pick the red button, because the entire problem here is being created by the blue button pressers.
You can rename the blue button to be the button that just says, kill yourself, unless a lot of other people also choose to kill themselves. And the red button to be just, don't kill yourself. This feels a lot more trivial because there's no reason to assume anyone would intentionally press the blue button here. The wording of the original question frames the blue button as the button that saves lives and emphasizes the fact that people will die if you press the red button. The same is true as I've relabeled these buttons here, but now I'm emphasizing the fact that you're putting yourself at risk when no one was at any risk to begin with.
This meme of people choosing to risk their lives jumping into a meat grinder to save themselves from the meat grinder is a good example. In that context, no one in their right mind would ever jump into the meat grinder, but the simple act of pressing a button is different. One of the videos I watched was by the Birdman, and while I think he is wrong to say that red button people are selfish, when again this entire problem could have been just straight up avoided by not jumping into the meat grinder essentially. However, he does bring up a good point that the original question says that everyone in the world has to pick, meaning that babies would be included as well as colorblind people or just completely blind people. So what that means is even in the unlikely scenario of everyone on Earth deciding red is better, you would have blind people and babies that can't decide which button does which, meaning some of those people might die because more people chose red. He does also bring up a good point that if a large portion of the world ended up dying because of this, then the red button pressers would have a lot of work trying to maintain everything. So picking blue is the logical answer because you don't lose anyone. My answer to this dilemma would greatly depend on the context of the situation. However, based on the original question, it seems like the majority of people decided to pick the blue button over multiple popular polls I've found. That would suggest that people in real life would pick the blue button over the red button, right? Well, there's one more problem with the risk of the blue button. We don't exactly know the demographic of who's exactly picking each of these buttons, because this whole button problem is obviously only going to be voted on by people who see it. So then what kinds of people are actually seeing this dilemma? Most likely this would be seen by a lot of teenage teenagers to 35-year-old men in Western countries, since that demographic matches the age range, sex, and regions that mostly appear in these online spaces. So what this tells us is that we not only have a very small sample size compared to the entirety of the world, but compared to the different viewpoints of everyone around the world, we have a very small perspective of that. While I think there's a good chance most of the world would pick blue, have you considered the advantage red provides to certain people? Think about it. Let's say North Korea mandated all their people to pick red. Why would Kim want all of his people to pick red, you might be wondering? Well, I think that by picking red, they guarantee their own survival while potentially destroying all of the oh-so-virtuous Westerners who think everyone is the same as them. Meaning, in a real-world situation, you would likely have China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, and a whole lot of other countries that would benefit greatly from the blue button failing to reach 51%. These countries would also have more power over their people, meaning that the odds would be more in their favor. So I hate to say it, but I feel like it could be a very risky real-life scenario to pick the blue button. I mean, considering that even in the original post, the blue button wasn't really that far ahead of the red button, I genuinely believe that the red button would win in a real-life scenario. Unless this real-life scenario was like an instant choice pop-up that just popped up right in front of everyone with like no time to think about it and they had like 1 minute to decide, then I mean, like in that scenario, it could really go either way, I guess. This isn't even going into the psychology of what people tend to say often doesn't actually match their actions. With that being said, I want to press the blue button because I know that there is no world where 100% of people end up pressing the red button and we all live. However, given that most people would want to live and see the red button as like a live button, and the possible advantage that the blue button failing provides certain wealthy individuals or certain countries, I simply can't bring myself to push the blue button. But what do you think of this dilemma? Would you press the red or blue button, and why would you? Whatever your reasoning is, just remember to keep it civil.